Welcome to episode number 2 of 2021 World Series of Fishing. I'm your host, Matthew Diesel, and with me on the bench tonight is Mr. Mike Anderson.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in tonight. Got a very special episode planned out for you guys tonight as we hit Fremont Lake for the World Series Lakeshore Division Qualifier for the 2020 series. So excited to be here tonight. We got a lot of action-packed planned for tonight's episode.
Hopefully they catch more fish than last weekend.
Man, I think that's a given. But
more than 2 fish is what all I really want to see.
To last week's anglers' credit, I know you guys mentioned it during the broadcast last week, but battling those weather conditions.
That weather looked terrible.
From someone who was actually there, it was ridiculously bad.
I saw giant snowflakes, wind just whipping all over the place, and I was looking at Zach Hall wearing
a
sweatshirt and a pair of pants. I'm like, man, how are you not cold? I got cold looking at him.
It was terrible. But we promise much more action-packed fishing on tonight's episode. It's going to be a blast. We had some amazing anglers qualify for this World Series Lakeshore Division qualifier. So getting them all together out on Fremont Lake. For those of you that don't know where Fremont Lake is, it's about 45 minutes just north of Grand Rapids, kind of northeast of Muskegon, to kind of put it in perspective for you guys. And not a huge body of water, it's more or less a circle lake.
I've never fished it. I've looked at it in the map. I know we've had events there in the past, and it's just not a lake that's on my radar, even being on the west side of the state.
It's a beautiful lake. Beautiful lake, holds some nice fish that you'll see tonight in Topwater action, so I'm excited for
I'm ready to see some people catch some fish.
Absolutely. So before we get any farther, my timer's ready, so are we ready to keep going?
I think it was a lot of gears, but then
So, talking about Fremont Lake, it's more of a rounded shaped lake if you're not familiar with it. You can see the crew getting set to do battle here as they're getting loaded into the water. It was a chilly day this day as well.
Yeah, it doesn't look the warmest. I'm already noticing a difference in boats on this time around. Whereas last week it looked like all our competitors were in Hobies, I'm seeing some more Old Towns out there.
Yeah, I think about 50% or better of the field for the Lakeshore Division all qualified in an Old Town kayak. So a little bit of diversity compared to the Tri-Cities qualifier where they were all sporting Hobies. But I think more than half the field in today's episode you're going to see sporting the Old Town. And I think being over here on the west side, that's a huge credit to Water Dog Outfitters, DNR Sports Center, carrying those Hobie lines over here on the west side that these anglers can go check out and get their hands on. And
those Old Town lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I got my Old Town I got from Water Dog, and I am very happy with the boat. It's treated me well for 2 seasons.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with it. You can see... besides the Old Towns here tonight, you're going to see some Hobies out on the water. I believe there's a Wilderness out on the water here that you'll see. So a diverse group of kayaks as you're seeing them get ready and head out on the water. But again, weather conditions on this day, it was a nice chilly day.
It still looks chilly.
And conditions at the ramp here, it was a busy day on the water. You can see the boats getting off the water kind of out of our way, which was super nice of them. But
that looks like a pretty full parking lot, lots of trailers.
By the not a huge parking lot. Fremont, that is one of the downfalls. It's the parking area around the ramp. It's tight, but there's still plenty of room for everybody to get in and get situated. And This guy's about to run over Matt Long's kayak as he backs his van down there to load up. So, funny thing, when we were getting prepared to head out to do this qualifier, the anglers that were coming off the water were pretty amazed at what they were seeing headed out on the water. They had never really seen kayaks set up like
You're like,
this.
what are you guys doing? Do you guys fish out of these things? Like, no, we don't fish out of them.
Yeah, a couple older gentlemen. Grant had a friendly conversation with one of them before we were getting started that he just couldn't believe what he was seeing with these kayaks launching out on the water. He had never seen fishing vessels set up like that before, and he was pretty skeptical what the hell we were doing.
That happens a lot. You go to these ramps and people start asking questions like, what do you guys do with all that stuff on there? Where do you put your fish? Where do you keep your fish? I was like, oh, sir, I don't really keep my fish. I bass fish, so I take a picture of it and toss them back in the water.
That's something that's so hard to describe to someone that's never.
That's probably more hard to
before.
describe to someone than anything else. They're like, you don't keep your fish? I was like, no, man, I don't keep fish.
Talking to them and describing a CPR style tournament when they've never had to do that, never had to use a bump board or pull out a phone to submit a fish.
They're like, you don't go weigh them in. I was like, no, we don't have to
it's
do
kind
that.
of mind blowing for them. It really is. Gosh, seeing these guys get launched out there, the start before the tournament, that's always one of my funnest parts of these series is when all the anglers are staged on the water, ready to go right before start time, and watching everybody launch and spread out across the lake. It's always pretty cool.
Yeah, this has got me excited for that open water fishing.
Oh, it won't be long. I know we were hit pretty hard last week with that huge snowstorm, but watching it melt away the last 2 days, it's coming. Spring's a-coming. So, there's Mr. Grant Binnick there getting his Predator loaded up out on the water. I'm excited. I love Grant's red Predator. It's always been one of my favorite boats.
That is
I
a
love
good
that color. It's the only... in all of our competitions, I think Grant's red Predator is the only one I've seen like that. I don't know anybody else locally that's got one of those reds. So, but this is a view of Matt Long and his Hobie PA getting ready to set out, getting himself staged. Matt, you can see the accessories, self-made accessories on the back of that Hobie. Look at that setup, man.
Rod holders, multiple coolers in the back.
I think that cooler rod holder combo there that he made himself, that's a pretty cool setup. All right, we are about ready to hit the national anthem here as these anglers get started.
Everybody, be safe.
Alright, so as everybody can hear in that audio, that wind is ripping. You can hear it right now as I talk over it. But for safety
that just lets you know what you're looking at.
We're in that little cove kind of
it's
setting
not
where,
on?
the launch is. So we have everyone kind of remain seated. The guys standing up and everyone caps and all that. That's something that we like to do for these bigger events is play that national anthem and show our appreciation. So, and here you go. You can see them all launched. Everybody's spreading out across the lake now. You can see that chop coming in. Man, those old towns float right across that.
It's a really fast boat.
Those
And we got Matt Long's giant TA.
pushing it. No mistaking Tim DeSmit there with those tennis shoes on. He wanted to be noticed and seen out on the water. If a boat was coming, he was just going to stick up a shoe. So, all right, welcome back here to the studio as the anglers head out across Fremont Lake. We'll let them get out there and get in position before we check back in on the action. So here in just a second, we're going to get into our angler intros, introduce you to the field out on the water tonight. So excited to recognize these anglers whose hard work paid off and got them qualified for this World Series of Fishing qualifier round. A special note that out of these anglers, I think everyone who qualified other than one was able to actually make it out to Fremont.
That's great.
Unfortunately, Steve Crooks, who had qualified, couldn't make it. I believe he was out of town at the time that we did this actual event. So in recognition of Steve Crooks, he did qualify for this. He just wasn't able to make it. So we went with our AOI roll downs and found his replacement. So as we get ready and get set for these intros, right away, you said you haven't had a lot of experience out on Fremont Lake?
No, I've never been on Fremont Lake. I've
right.
only looked at it from just like Google Maps and just from afar. I've never even set physical eyes on the water.
Is Fremont Lake on the Lakeshore schedule for this year?
I think it is. I want to say that it's on this schedule. I know it was on last year, but being it's about an hour away from my house and during the week, it's always like a tough one for me to get to.
Yeah,
so
for you personally.
Especially when I got a little tiny person at home.
Yeah, absolutely. That takes up a lot of time. Plus that drive for you. You're a little farther south from there. But great spot, again, kind of easily located right off of 37 there, just to the west of 37, if I remember right, north of Grand Rapids by about 45 minutes. But really pretty lake. It's got right off the shore, nice little gradual drop off before it does drop off. And over on the west side, there's some nice sandy flats. So, all right, ready for angler intro. And we'll start off here with Nathan Boardwell, hailing from Muskegon, Michigan, so just right down the road from Fremont Lake, fishing out of an old town Big Water, the Big Water 132s. Season history, how he got here was finishing 8th place in the 2020 AOI standings for the Lakeshore Division with 2 solid top 5 finishes. Biggest career achievement, not drowning.
That's a big deal. Don't want to drown.
Yeah, that's a great one.
You can't have much of a career if you drowned.
Next up.
We have Tim DeSmit, hometown of Twin Lake, Michigan. Again, fishing out of an old town Big Water. In his 2020 season, he got 6th place in Angler of the Year and 3 top 5 finishes. And to his career, he got 2nd in Angler of the Year in the Lakeshore event.
Nice career stats there. So back-to-back Old Town Big Waters. That's pretty cool.
It is a popular boat on the west side of the state. Absolutely. That is for sure.
Awesome. Next up, Mr. Jesse Brinkert, hailing from Montague, Michigan, so literally just down the road from Fremont, fishing out of an Old Town as well, the Old Town Predator. Season in 2020, finished 4th place in AOI. That's how he qualified to get to the World Series on the Lakeshore Division with 3 top 5 finishes. Career stats, 2021 state championship top 10, and also finished Rookie of the Year back in 2020 for the Topwater series. So congrats to Jesse for qualifying to this round. And
got Matt Long, hometown Muskegon, Michigan, fishing out of that handmade Hobie Pro Angler. For his 2020 season, he got 11th place in Angler of the Year and 2 top 5 finishes. And his 2022 was the Lakeshore Series underdog.
All right, moving down the roster here. Next, we'll turn our attention over to Mr. Dan Van Dusen out of Norton Shores, Michigan, fishing out of a Perception Pescador Pilot. 2020 season, 3rd place in AOI and Lakeshore Division with 4 top 5 finishes. That's outstanding. And career-wise, the 2020 Border City Classic Big Bass. So that is impressive, being out on Lake St. Clair at the Border City Classic amongst all of the Canadians.
Dude, that's big. That's big water. That's big. That's probably a big smallmouth.
To come home with big bass of the day, that's impressive.
That's a great feeling.
Absolutely.
Next we have I don't know if I can say this name right. Is this Grant Bennick? Oh, I know this guy. Hometown of Allendale, Michigan. Again, fishing out of that Old Town Predator. His 2020 season, 9th place in Angler of the Year, and 2019 to 2022 Intern of the Year for his career stats.
Reigning champion Intern of the Year.
Can't keep him down.
He is the man. Moving on, next competitor, Mr. David Kerr out of Interlaken, Michigan. David making that trip down and with his Hobie Pro Angler. 2020 season, finished 13th place in AOI, but was also in the shootout mix, and that is how David qualified for this Lakeshore World Series qualifying event. David also coming red hot off a fantastic year this past year, most notable that 2021 MKT West Angler of the Year. So some fantastic anglers out on the water competing in this qualifying event.
Now that we've seen anybody, let's get to the water and let's see some guys catch some fish.
Oh, I'm excited. It's going to be some action-packed event. Notable qualifiers from the Lakeshore Division. We'd like to give a shout-out to Mr. Tyler Osborne, who was our shootout champion that pre-qualified for the West Finals, and also Angler of the Year Tom Mullins pre-qualifying for the West Finals out of that Lakeshore Division with his Angler of the Year title. So congrats to both of those gentlemen getting their pre-qualifying rounds taken care of and advancing on to the West Finals. So congrats to them.
It's always an accomplishment to just skip the line and just go right to championship.
Why deal with the qualifying when you can just
all that stuff?
Kill it and then skip it? So kudos to all those guys, and congratulations to all of the competing anglers on the Lakeshore Division World Series of Fishing qualifier round that you're about to see kicking off right now, folks. All right, starting out with Mr. Tim DeSmit there.
Mr. Bright Shoes.
Just a quick little glimpse of Tim there. We'll get back over to him in just a second. Well, as we wait for that feed, Tim fishing out of that Big Water 132. Those are super nice boats, little rocket ships.
They're super fast. I mean, I fish out of one. I fish out of a Predator, which is the same platform. It's just got a new sticker on the front of it.
Yeah, there we go. There's Tim. So.
Looks like Van Dusen's going the other side.
Matt working it. It's like everybody's kind of doing a little on the water discussion, trying to figure out where they're going to head to start this competition. That's always cool to see these anglers talking to each other as they're starting out, giving everybody plenty of room to fish, spreading themselves out. With the wind blowing the way it was on this day, it was coming straight out of the west across the lake, and making where the ramp is located on the northeast side of Fremont to get over to that west side. That was pretty difficult. I think only 1 or 2 anglers actually ended up getting all the way over there.
It definitely looks like a little choppy, not the favorite weather for fishing.
Yeah. Mr. Grant Bennick seamlessly pedaling that Predator across the water here. No issues for him. Mr. Brinkert getting that transducer down in the water, getting ready to go. Looks like DeSmit's found his spot. He's ready to go.
Now the waiting games begin until the line's in. Looks like we have our first cast.
as these anglers get out there and get settled in on their fishing spots, ready to go. The World Series of Fishing is the Topwater League Series championship. So pitting all of these anglers, they are our best anglers that qualified to get to this qualifying position from each of our divisions. So putting them out there facing off against each other in this format is a lot of fun to see how it's going to play out. Take a look at that leaderboard as we get started before lines in time. But just to reiterate, these anglers began this journey way back in 2020, qualifying through one of the 4 local divisions that Topwater Series ran that year. So huge kudos to these guys for going out, putting in that work, fishing these 10-event league night schedules, and getting themselves in a qualifying Angler of the Year position, or going ahead and like we mentioned, Tyler and Tom winning that shootout or that AOY title to pre-qualify. But it's a lot of work, a 10-event schedule, weeknight events on 10 different bodies of water, big bodies, small bodies, river systems. It is a tremendous amount of work on these anglers.
It is a big commitment.
It really is. And kudos to all of the league anglers that come out and compete in these league series events. The way that the format was set up was to help anglers become better fishermen, fisher ladies. By going to a different body of water each and every week, you're going to test your skills. You're going to learn some new things, what worked, what didn't work, learn the different bodies of water. What's cool about these World Series of Fishing competitions is they're all set up in an MLF style format where on a normal league series weeknight, we're scoring our best 5 bass. So your best 5 overall, calling out the small ones. For these MLF style formats, these anglers are out there trying to capture and log as many fish as they can. So in a short amount of time, the goal is to catch as many as you can and get them submitted.
Every fish has to meet the 8-inch minimum
Has
to be able
to
to
still
score
meet
it.
the league series 8-inch minimum.
You're not just going out there and just catching a bunch of 5-inch fish. You got to catch at least an 8-inch fish to be able to score it.
Absolutely. And even the 8-inch fish, those are hard. I think scoring the smaller fish is way harder than scoring a bigger fish.
Just catching fish sometimes can be hard,
absolutely.
as we saw last week.
Yeah, these conditions here were a little bit better than what the Tri-City anglers had to deal with, but not a lot. It was still pretty chilly and pretty windy, as you can see in that picture there of Nathan out there in his big water.
I don't see any snow, so that's a plus.
Yeah, no snow that day, thank goodness. But honestly, I would take snow over wind any day. Any day. That wind out there just makes it cold and miserable, and not a big fan of that. So again, 3 anglers per division, the Angler of the Year and the Shootout Champion, the Divisional Qualifier winner. That's what's moving on to the World Series of Fishing Qualifiers. So just to give you that background there, again, MLF style format, go out, catch as many fish
as you can possibly can, toss them on the board, snap a picture, and you're going to get your total length from all the fish you catch.
Yep. On all of these qualifiers that you're seeing, these are 3-hour tournament timed events. MLF rules, as we said, with that 8-inch or bigger limit as a scoreable fish. So pressure is on these anglers to get out there and start catching fish immediately out of the gate if possible. Catch as many as you can and get them scored. So a little bit different type of mindset. I know a lot of people like to go out and find their spots, kind of roam around a little bit if you haven't been on that water.
See what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So everyone fishes a little bit different.
Yep. Not for these events. These events you got to start hot right out of the gate and start capturing as many submissions as you can. So pretty cool way to change things up on these guys, change up their mindset a little bit, moving from one League Series event to a World Series of Fishing qualifying event. Something a little different for them to test their skills and capabilities, see who can go out and submit the most, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm excited to break down this competition here. Back to Matt Long, switching out rods.
Looks like we might have our first fish.
Oh, he's got a bent rod. Mr. Tim Smet out of his Old Town Big Water 132. Let's see what he's got. He's got it right up to the boat, grabbing that net. That's a cool shot there.
Yeah, looks like a
nice
smallie.
fish. Nice fish. Letting that anchor wizard line down. Gonna stop for a quick second, letting that bass chill out in the cool water, calm down a little bit.
Those smallmouth don't like to calm down.
Understand. Small hunt doesn't make you.
Looks like Tim's throwing a tiny underspin. Looks like on a 2-inch Kitech, or maybe one of his own. I know Tim pours his own lures.
It's like he was trying to tell us there. We'll turn up that audio when we replay it, and we can hear what he's saying. But I know where Tim was fishing at right there. He was in a pocket of about 3 or 4 other anglers that were fairly close within shouting distance there. So he was trying to keep that to himself and to the camera. But, yeah, nice looking smallie. Oh, looked like Brinkert had one on there. Maybe lost it right at the last second.
I didn't see what he threw. I was trying to see if he was like,
There you go, 16 and a quarter for Mr. Tim Smet.
with the
Jumped
first
up
fish
on
on
that
the board.
leaderboard. Cut back over to Matt Long here. You can see some of the other competitors out there in front of him.
It looks like Matt's slow working a jig on the bottom. Just short little pops.
I think Matt and Nathan stayed kind of close to that ramp area that we had launched from to start out their session, as Smet and Brinkert went a little bit farther on that east side of the lake, heading towards the south side. And still in oh.
Nice clean release.
See a bent rod there for Mr. Brinkert.
Putting her away.
No.
Making the switch.
I love Matt Long's setup there on that kayak. That's a unique setup. The double cooler with the rod holder system on each side of that cooler. I think it's cool to see all these anglers come up with their own custom accessories and what works for them. And
Yeah, everyone does a little bit something
I
different
love
on
it.
their boats.
That's the coolest thing when we roll up to these League Series tournaments and you line up, 30 kayaks along the bank and you get to check out everybody's setups. And,
That's half the fun, is just looking at everyone's riggers like, oh, I could
Right?
do that. I was like, why are you doing it that way, man?
That's my favorite
It's like, you
thing,
just
is
question.
just talking to people and checking out their setup and seeing what works for them. And seeing Matt's setup there, that's some awesome ingenuity
It works
there.
for him. Like, I've seen like all the work and time he puts into this stuff, and it's just like, might not be for you, but it definitely works for Matt.
I love it. Another quick look at Brinkert there.
Got a fish.
Oh, he's got one on.
Fish on, baby.
Number 2?
In the boat. Yes, sir.
There you go, Mr. Brinkert.
No time for the net. Just gonna boat
No,
with this guy.
just gonna boat that. Nice fish, Jesse.
Largemouth.
I love
Looks
being
to be a
around. I love being
chartreuse
around
spinnerbait.
Jesse, man. I love being around him. When he's off the water, at like a check-in, super quiet, just super quiet, mellow. out on the water when he's fishing and he's in his
Just
element.
getting fired up.
Yeah, man, firecracker. Especially when he's got a fish on there. He gets so excited, and I love it. Again, that 2020 Topwater Series Rookie of the Year there. Got himself qualified to get into this qualifying event for the World Series. Heck of
I'm
an
gonna
angler.
go right over this way.
I remember
I got a
that.
little treasure chest over here.
Ooh, a little treasure chest, he says. Matt knows something that we don't know.
I'm either gonna catch nothing or I'm gonna catch about 8 of them right after another.
We'll see how this strategy
There's
played out
4
for
little
him.
like
Try to call a
10-foot
shot.
spots of seaweed that I found out here about a week ago. I caught one, I had 8 follow it up. So hopefully they're still there. We'll see.
Jesse still submitting his fish there on that purple catch board. What's your favorite color catch board?
It's either that purple board or the Catch X in that bright green color. Seems to be my favorite one. I
like
use
that
those
green
two the
color.
most.
I do like those purple boards and the green boards for scoring. If you're judging a competition, those purple boards, the green boards, the blue boards, those stand out. They make judging so much easier.
I think I own the red board, purple board, blue board, and then that green Catch X board. That's all. That's what I use. But out of those, that green and purple are my 2 favorites.
Matt's going in super shallow here. Trying to find that little pocket he was hinting to a second ago. I remember out there that day, there you go, Jesse's fish, 12 3/4. It's him right behind the Smet to start out the session. Nice little 12 3/4 largie.
Every fish counts.
Well, that's a pretty picture with those 2 big waters side by side. But I remember being out there on this lake, and over there where Matt's at, it's a nice, long, sandy shelf. Little pockets.
Yeah, you can see that from looking down in the water. It looks real clear, real sandy. Not.
You'll see here in a little bit if we cut over to Van Dusen, he's probably still only about halfway across the lake by now. He was going to the far side.
He's like, I'm making a trek.
Yeah, over there where he was at, a beautiful sandy ledge coming off of the bank over there too. Really pretty waters on this lake. For being as choppy as it was, for it to stay that clear was impressive.
Trying to get a handle of what Matt's throwing it. I couldn't really see it. It looked like a Texas rig Sanko, but I could be wrong.
So hard for these anglers if you're not anchored down or using some type of propulsion system with a trolling motor or something like that to stay where you want to be on these windy days like this. That wind's just shoving you
Yeah, you're just getting blown around all over
so
the
far
place.
back from where you want to be. He's working that bait caster. I can't tell what he's got on there. Jesse's getting himself back out after his last submission.
Still throwing that chartreuse spinner bait.
Definitely. These clear waters like that, throwing that chartreuse out there, definitely a noticeable bait cutting through that water. Still jealous of Tim's shoes there.
I think Jim, I don't know which is brighter, Jesse's chartreuse spinner bait or Tim's shoes.
Tim's shoes for sure.
So Matt's hooked
Oh
up.
man, Matt called a shot. Told us where he was going to catch a fish, and he went and did it. Still got to get it in the boat though. This is always the tricky part right here. Nice job,
Fish
Matt,
in the
there.
net.
Matt Long on. At least he's got it in the boat. Still got to get it submitted.
This is only half the battle.
Get a chance maybe here to see what he was throwing. Trying to see what that flat piece is right to the left of his seat right there. I can't tell what that is. If that's his anchor system, maybe?
I didn't see it. I think
kind of that white disc right behind his seat.
Oh,
I'm guessing that's his
the
anchor.
back behind him. That
Yeah.
should be. If I know Matt, I'm gonna guess it's a clothesline reel hooked up to be an anchor system. Because on my first kayak, I did the exact same thing.
All right, that's
You
what
go
that
to
is.
you go to Lowe's, buy yourself a clothesline reel, rip out the insides, put some 550 paracord in there, and attach your anchor
Hey,
in
man, it
and
works.
No mess.
There you go. That last fish Matt Long just hooked and saw boated. Was a scoreable 15-inch fish. Puts him up in second place in this session right here.
So we got 3 fish on the board so far.
Tim Smet in the lead. Matt Long right behind him. And Brinkert just a couple inches off the pace. So let's check back in just a couple minutes. We'll see that action, see who else can get on the board out of these anglers.
I'm seeing if anyone can catch more than 2 fish. We've seen him catch 1 fish so far, but can an angler catch more than 2 fish?
It's going to happen. I know we talked about those weather conditions on last week's Tri-City episode, but man, I'll tell you what, I was there trying to film on the camera boat, and it was a miserable experience. I can't imagine these guys out there trying to fish
sitting
in
here,
it.
and I was looking at that, and I was like, man, that looks cold. Like, I feel cold just sitting here, like, watching you guys try to do everything out here.
It was
like, no, man,
seriously like 20 degrees, like a snow, rain, sleet mix, 30-mile-an-hour winds. Like you could see the B-roll footage of the flagpole. Oh my gosh, it was so miserable.
You could hear
out
it just
there.
whipping, and then someone getting a little pocket, and then you see no wind anymore.
Some of the qualified anglers, they didn't even show up. They called in sick that day.
Like,
That's why there was only 3 of them.
They're like, I'm calling it cold. I'm like,
no.
I'm done. It's too cold.
And then you've got anglers like Zach Hall showing up, and he's in like flip-flops, khakis, and a hoodie.
It's like, I'll be fine.
I'm in like 4 layers of Carhartt, trying not to, die of freeze to death. And this guy's out there in a kayak and flip-flops and a hoodie and just loving life.
Just living his best life.
Oh, man. But these conditions here on Fremont, a little bit better. But as you can see, that wind is still just ripping across the lake. And it was pretty chilly that day. So we'll see what if that weather made a difference on Fremont's fishing compared to Lake Lancer, where the Tri-Cities guys were. So there we go. Another look at that leaderboard before we go back to action. Tim Smet up on top with that 16 1/4 smallie. Matt Long's 15-inch submission, and Brinkert's 12 3/4 largie on the board. So waiting on David, Kerr, Van Dusen, Binnick, and Boardwell to see what they can do.
Look, we got Nathan right here. He's throwing.
Maybe he's got a crawl on there. What's he got on there?
He's bapping up and down. I'm going to guess it's a jig. He's throwing a jig on some weed lines. Be my guess.
Making a switch.
Got Mr. Bright Shoes, Tim Smet.
I already did. Nice.
So again, these first set of anglers that we're previewing here, there's a look at Mr. Bennett. But these first set of anglers we were looking at, they're all still relatively close to each other on the lake. Not too far, as you can hear them communicating with each other. You can see in Grant's forward view another kayak angler not too far out in front of him. There was a little bit of boat traffic out on the water, not terribly bad, as you can kind of see there in front of Matt, as he looks like he's hooked up on number 2 there.
that.
Such a satisfying feeling.
Until you take a deep breath and then remember there's only half of it.
Yeah.
Now I gotta lay him on this board, take a picture of him, and hope he doesn't decide he wants to be in the water more than he wants to be on my board.
Do you still get nervous when you're tournament fishing and you finally hook into one and now it's time to net it,
Usually,
get it out, get it scored? Do you still get nervous?
The first fish I get nervous,
man.
and if I catch like something that's close to like PB, then I'm just like, I get that little shake in my hand, but I still do the whole no hands on the fish and take a picture.
Oh, that's crazy talk there. I don't catch enough fish not be nervous. Like, I'm nervous on every single one of them. I don't care if it's an 8-inch or a 20-inch.
It's always the
just
first
as
fish.
nervous.
The first fish, once I get the first fish out of the way, then I start to feel, then that calm starts to come over you. I'm like, okay, I remember how to do this.
I just try to relax, have a good time, but when I finally do hook into one and it's time to get in the boat and score it, that instant nervous feeling just sets in. Like, I'm just waiting on it to jump off the board. Another back look at Nathan. It's a nice crate system Nate has set up. He's also made sure that all his rods are going to float if they were to ever get tossed into the water for some reason.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I probably should. Now that I said that, I will flip my boat this year.
I started tethering my rods to my crate, but it's a great safety factor because the rods are tethered on there, but it's also a huge pain in the ass when you're trying to switch out rods and you got to climb in the back to untether everything. They got a little stretch to the tethers, but it is kind of a pain in the butt. I do like what those guys are doing with the foam noodle system.
I did that too. Did the tethers, and now rod's got nothing on them. If they sink, I guess they sink, and I'll cry and be mad about it. I wish I would have done all that stuff again, but
Grant maybe pitching a jig there.
Grant looked to be throwing Old Reliable, which is a chatterbait for Grant.
Is that a chatterbait?
Now, if I know Grant's throwing a chatterbait.
Jerks in a boat trying to cut in between these two kayakers up here.
I'm gonna hope they're guys trying to take video and not guys trying to do some fishing.
fairly certain that was the camera crew up there. And that was a difficult process too, trying to man a camera boat with the wind blowing. Trying to give these guys distance to get close in enough that we could get good footage of the action. It was trouble in itself.
Yeah, you want to it's the hard thing to balance is just to give them space and then be able to just like not step on anyone's toes.
It really is. You got to give each other space, and the cameras only zoom in so far, so want to give each other space. Another look there at the leaderboard, and we've got a new leader now. Mr. Matt Long jumping up there. Means that last one was about the same as his first, another 15-inch fish.
Maybe he will catch those 8 fish in his little treasured box.
Hey man, he called it. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna go right up here to this spot.
I'm gonna catch them all, or I'm gonna catch them none."
Hey, he's been there for 10 minutes and submitted 2 on the board already. It's exciting if you got a game plan and it actually works out.
And it works.
For you.
That's a great feeling when you're like, I'm gonna go here. I'm either gonna catch fish or I'm not gonna catch fish, and then you catch fish. It's like I'm feeling pretty good about myself now.
Yeah. And he's not too far from where we started, so he's saving that leg work.
And he looks to be shallow, where everyone else looks to be offshore and probably about over 10 feet of water.
I think that was the game plan for most of them, was to go after the smallie bite, because there's some good smallies in there with some good size to them. So you catch a couple of those, and you're going to get some
That's
nice
everyone's
length.
mindset. There's like, can I catch these smallmouth? And smallmouth are finicky, but I think largemouth are just dumb.
Yeah, they just want to eat. So, yeah, it looks like the strategy for Long is paying off. He's in shallow. I'm sure Van Dusen at this point is about 3/4 of the way across the lake.
Almost to a spot. We still haven't seen him yet.
That wind ripping across from the west, and he was headed right into it. So exciting to see what Brinkert and Bennett do. We haven't heard from David Kerr yet, so exciting to see what ends up playing out with those guys. Some
Someone
fantastic
gonna
anglers.
catch 3 fish today?
Oh, it's gonna happen.
Okay.
It's gonna happen. There's some more action to come. So it was much improved fishing conditions than that Tri-City qualifier. So
We already have more fish. Double the fish from
double
last
the fish
Double
than
the
last
fish
week's
from last episode.
So, oh man, I'm excited. We'll take a little break here, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
We are Yak Attack, a leader in watercraft accessories and mounting systems made in small town America with a built-for-life guarantee. From rod holders to fish finder mounts, to cleats, tie downs, and more, Yak Attack products attach quickly and easily to your boat or kayak, including virtually all built-in track systems. For more information or to find a dealer near you, visit us at yakattack.com.
All right, take another look at that leaderboard before we head back to action here. Matt Long in the lead, 30.5. Smet, 16.25, followed by Brinkert in third spot with 12.75 on the leaderboard. Kerr, Van Dusen, Binnick, and Boardwell still out working, trying to find that first bite. So it's going to come. There's Nate there. It's cool when you get to see this footage of seeing that technique, how they're using that bait, how they're working it through the water. Those little flips, little jerks. There's Grant working his. That's cool. Everybody's got a little bit of different technique on how they use that particular bait. It's cool to see how they learn that. I don't know if that's self-taught or, that's how Grandpa showed you how to fish,
Everyone just starts to fall in their own ways of doing something that just feels comfortable.
It's interesting to see how everybody uses that bait a little bit differently from each other. You can hear the wind
I needed that fish.
cutting across that fishing line.
Oh, right when I said I needed that fish, I got a hook up. Oh my god. Let's go, dude. Let's go. Right when I said that. You saw that?
I love it.
I'm like, man, I really needed that. I mean, it's a bigger fish, but another fish just hit it. Right there. Oh, yes, dude.
I love
Oh,
how
so
animated he gets. See what I mean?
Fired up.
Now that's more words than he's ever spoken at any event check-in all season long. But when he's in his element on the water and he's hooked up, man, he gets excited. I love it. I love the youth out there bringing that spark. So as we wait to see what Brinkert ended up as his second sub, cut back over to Smet. Looks like Long's maybe moving out a little bit farther from that shallow spot. Can't tell what Matt has tied on there. Looks like a little baby jerkbait or a lipless maybe. Hard to tell. Still love the collar of that kayak.
Sad they don't make it anymore.
Fish on. Was that a block?
That was a blah. I guess it's a toothy critter. That it is.
Yeah, I think you are correct. A little adolescent pike.
Almost jumped in the back.
Yeah, almost went in the back of the boat.
Thank you, Jesus.
There you go. Brinkert on the board, moving him up second spot with that 25.5 inch mark now. solid 5 inches behind the leader. So,
Still, anything can happen.
looked like that second submission was around a 9-inch, 9 1/4 mark for Brinkert there.
Ooh.
Oh,
Maybe.
he's getting excited now. He's got a couple fish on the scoreboard. Found a spot.
When you're finesse fishing, you don't want to get too excited, because you get more excited, you start moving a little faster. You start moving that bait a little faster.
Yeah.
And that's probably you were more calm before you're doing it, and you want to try to keep that cadence the exact same.
So are you a lefty or a righty?
I right-handed, but I fish left-handed.
All right. Where is your graph mounted on your kayak? On the left hand or the right hand side? This has been a topic of conversation 2 or 3 times over the last, I don't know, couple weeks I've had with
Left-hand
other
side.
people. So your graph's on your left hand side and you're casting with your left hand?
Nope, cast with my right hand, reel with my
Reel with the left. All right. So when you're bringing in your fish, do you predominantly bring it over to the right side of the boat then, away from the graph?
Nope.
So you bring it between you and the graph.
Nope, my graph is so close I just go right over the edge.
Oh,
so I have
alright.
the whole system. My graph is real close to my seat. I fish out of that Old Town, the Predator, but I have a rail up closer.
Okay.
And then my graph's here, and then I come on the backside of it. And then I place my fish on the other side in the net. So I like wedge my net like in between two, what are they called? Oh, roto grips. 2 roto grips,
yeah,
and
for
it stays
sure.
there. And so that's how I do it. So just everything's on my left hand side. I keep my right hand side basically clear. So if I dump my kayak, I have a clear spot to
A
get
clear
out
spot
of.
to get back in. No, I've always had my graph on the left hand, and I'll cast with my right, reel with my left. But it seems like all the fish that I try to land, I always try to bring them over around to my left side, because I'll hold my rod with the
Yep,
right
that's
and
what I
my
do,
net
so
with my left,
that's
and
how I
I'll
do
bring
it.
it between the graph and myself. But I think I want to move my graph over to the right side where Smet has his mounted more or less versus where Brinkert has his on the left, because I tend to always bring my fish over to that left side just out of habit.
See,
where
they're
Grant
both,
has
both
his.
their graphs are farther up. My graph is right by that handle. So that gray handle on the Predator.
That's super close.
So it's super close. So I can just like come down, I can look at it, and I can drop a waypoint or everything. I don't like to be able to have to reach all the way up there. So mine's very close.
So mine's pretty far forward as well. I like to stand up a lot when I'm out casting, especially in that AP 136. It's a remote control kayak, so I can press my shins up against the foot pedals and steer it as I'm standing. But I like having that graph a little farther forward so I can still see it as I'm standing.
See, I just drop it flush if I'm standing up, and then I can still see it. I just look down and check my graph. I guess I just look slightly behind me, but nothing's in my way.
My setup's pretty much about what Brinkert's is right there. Oh, fish on. Oh, no.
Fish off.
Heartbreaker. Heartbreaker.
Got him again.
Oh,
Giant, absolute giant.
the follow-up. Slow down, Jesse. Slow down.
Yes.
It's a good-looking fish. Good-looking fish. I don't know if it's the giant he was hoping for, but still solid. Yeah.
You.
We have Matt Long, calm, cool, collective.
Matt just chilling. Looks like Mr. Smet made another rod change from last time we saw him. Grant's still out working it. Looks like he's maybe moved into a little bit more shallow of an area. Seeing that bottom there, that sandy bottom. He must be fairly close to Brinkert. Sounded like Ike and Ellie out there on the water.
Giving up on the jerkbait.
Gave up on the jerkbait. Back to the spinner. Weather-wise, it does look like those clouds are starting to break up over there on the west side of the lake where all that wind was coming from.
Sun looks like it's trying to
Sun
peek through.
does look like it's trying to peek through.
It's like Matt's hooked up again.
Nice retrieval. Perfectly done. Alright.
What I'm talking about.
So with Brinkert about to submit his third fish and Matt Long submitting his, see what that leaderboard looks like here in just a second. There was quite a bit of lead swapping during this event.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be some flip-flopping and swapping.
And I think you're in store. Another couple anglers going to make a comeback here from what I remember. Some more fish to be submitted, so that leaderboard's going to keep changing. So I know that we haven't been able to check in on Van Dusen and Kerr and those guys yet. I think that it took a while to get across that lake, and then I think maybe some GoPro technical issues, if I remember right.
More gremlins.
Yeah.
More gremlins.
More gremlins, yeah. Not really sure, but we do have some footage of those guys coming in here in this episode as we've been paying a lot of attention to these three right here. Matt Long, there you go. Up on the leaderboard now at number 1 with his third submission at 46 1/4. Brinkert in second, his 3 submissions at 40 inches, and Smet in third place with 16 1/4. Rest of the field still out working. But it'll be exciting to see how this plays out. I know the lake is obviously showing fish.
Yeah,
we've got guys fishing shallow, guys fishing deep.
Looks like there's fish where you would think there would be fish.
Yeah.
Shallow and deep. That's where
Solid
you think there would
point.
be fish.
Solid point, Diesel. So it does look like the weather was starting to break a little bit, as we said. Those clouds started to break up a little bit. Looks like the sun was starting to pop out. I don't remember if it truly ever came out, but I remember the wind did calm down a little bit towards the end of our fishing session out there. So we'll see if that changes up
Hey, there's not
the
snow.
bite pattern.
There's not snow, so it's already a better time.
Absolutely. But no, these guys are out there working it so far. Predominantly, everyone that we've shown so far, we're pretty closely tied together on the lake. So that's why the camera boat kind of stuck with those guys for the most part, because there were so many of them grouped together in one area. It made it easier to bring you this footage. So, we saw Smet still out there working it, changing up rods. We'll see if he's able to get his second fish.
Another fish.
Yeah. Matt Long looks like he's found it. There again, another look at that leaderboard before we head back to action here. Matt Long still in first place, 46 1/4. Brinkert, 40 even, and Tim Smet in third place at 16 1/4. Head back to the action here. Matt changing up some graph settings, maybe marking some waypoints.
Like he's working the jerkbait. Being out there on the camera boat, Mike, did you have any, do you remember what water temps were? Did you guys have any graphs, anything in the water? What are our anglers looking at for water temperatures around here?
That's a great question, as Tim Smet hooks up with his second fish here. Honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head what water temps were that day. I was more worried about focusing on the camera work, so I don't remember
completely understandable.
what the water temp was that day. It was cold, so I'm going to say the water
Another
was
pike.
also cold. Oh, another toothy critter. That's a better pike than his first
broke
one.
me off.
And it stole his bait.
Oh, well, that's a struggle.
Nice looking boat there from Bennett. His parade wave needs some work.
Yep, but still reliable. Good old chatterbait.
That's pretty cool, because not going to happen right now. Who picked this lake anyways? Is that you, Kyle? Mike? I can act like I can catch a fish. Good action. Yeah. Oh, man.
It's always good for the camera boat to harass the participants of the tournament.
Yeah.
That's what you do to
Give us a
Grant.
good cliffhanger.
Yeah. Rile them up a little bit. Let's see, Bennett and Brinkert not too far from each other, as you saw in that last clip. I think by this time, these guys were working that southeast part of the lake. There were some nice grass lines down there on that south part of the lake. Love to see Smet here catch like a bluegill or something like that and
Just
get
go
that
for it.
grand slam. Get his panfish, his bass, and his toothy critter. And for those of you that aren't aware with these Old Town kayaks, this is
I'm already getting a
Grant's-
7-inch kayak out and be like Kyle last year. I said I'm already getting a 7-inch kayak out and be like you last year. Hey, it worked. Yeah, I know.
Grant's Old Town Predator there. The newer version of that, when Old Town came out with their Sportsman line, is the Big Water. So the Predator and the Big Water, very similar kayak boats there.
Essentially almost the same boat.
Pretty close.
There's
Pretty
a few.
close.
There's a few cosmetic things and a few very small differences. I think there's some mounting plates that are different and some extra screw holes in there.
Yeah, I think that's about the only difference from the older Predator version versus the new Sportsman line. All of these anglers that are out there competing, you can see, I'd say the minimum, maybe 6-7 rods that they all loaded up with. When you go out tournament fishing, what's your average? What do you usually take out on the water with you?
Before I was in my Predator, I would bring 8 to 10, and now I just bring 6.
6? I was talking to Steve Crooks at the Water Dog earlier today, and we were talking about our mindsets for this upcoming season and how it's both of our goals to really simplify what we take out on the water. And I've said this for a couple of years in a row, but I can't break my bad habits. But I tend to bring the garage out on the water with me. Everything.
6 rods is my sweet spot because I have a rod for anything I need to do. What I have to cut down is bringing tackle I'm not going to use.
I have a huge problem. I mean, I have 2 full crates of tackle with me and take out 10 rods every time, and I just don't need it. So seeing some of these guys where they've got a little slimmed down version of what I would normally take out, I'm going to follow their lead and simplify my process. I think 4 to 6 rods is more than enough, especially for these 3-hour shootouts.
Oh, looks like Matt's doing a little fly fishing.
Oh. I think he's hung up on his rods that are off to the side on his homemade rod holder.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's frustrating. That could be the downside to having all those rods hanging off the backside of your kayak like that, Matt. Maybe something to think about this off season as we get ready for next season.
Have to climb back there.
Oh,
Get
man.
it unstuck.
I didn't tip.
Here's a shot of Mr. Kerr making his way into the camera view. Checking out Jesse's net there, and I can't think of the name of that net, but it's the type of net that like folds all back up into itself into the handle.
I think it's a Fraybill net.
Is it a
Does it
Fraybill?
fold all the way in the handle, or does it just fold like a V? Because it like
It
comes out
kind
like
of
this.
collapses down into the handle, I think. I remember Dave Mall showing us one of those not that long ago, and it was honestly probably the one Matt or Jesse has on his boat there.
Well, I've seen the one that like folds all the way up. You like hook it on your foot and you pull it out, and it's like soft plastic. But that thing's got rope net. That one, I don't know if Jesse's does too.
I was watching him trying to unfold that net as he was landing that third fish, and that looked like it would stress me out.
No, I'll pull out though. I have one of those Yak Attack leverage landing nets, and I'll keep it folded behind me. But it's not that cumbersome to bring it out and flip it. I tried to do the net on the front of the kayak, but like every time I do it, it just didn't feel right. So I guess I have to keep it behind.
I started leaving mine up on the front.
Yeah,
of
like
the
how
kayak.
Grant has his. Like I can't do it. Like
Yeah.
you would think it'd be so much easier, but I missed a fish doing it. I was like, nope, never again.
I usually keep mine. If I'm mobile, I'll keep mine in a rod holder, sticking straight up behind me, so I can reach back with that left hand and grab it. But I just got into the habit when I start, just like David does right there, just leaving it out on the front of the deck. It's easier to just grab it and retrieve that way. Mr. Long still fixing that rod.
Looks like he's fly fishing still.
This fucking pisses me off.
Big bird's nest. This is when you just give
I
up.
feel for you, Matt. I feel
when
for
you
you.
just give up and grab one of those other 8 rods you have strapped on.
This is more my speed of fishing right here. I've been in that boat. I feel for him. Now you're pretty familiar with the type of kayak that Jesse's in right there.
Yeah, that is the exact same kayak I have, same color and everything.
I love that collar scheme. I've mentioned Grant's a couple times. That red, that's pretty. Another shot of David Kerr floating into the action, and that Pro Angler 14. That's a beautiful boat there. Can't miss it with that giant backcountry logo on the side of it. Fantastic angler. This is our 2020 World Series of Fishing recap that these anglers competed in just this past year, but David's 2021 season, man, angler on fire. He had a heck of a year. He was Topwater Series Tri-Cities Division AOY, the MKT West AOY, competed on the MKT Crossroads team, did really well as a team down there. I believe he's the newest member of the KFL Michigan Ambassadors fishing team this year. Going to go out on the road with those guys. So coming off a hell of a year, David Kerr. Just a fantastic angler and honestly one of the nicest people you will ever meet. Grant grabbing the tackle. Matt Long's back in the game.
Line back on the reel as it should be.
David looks a little frustrated there. You know, to David's credit, he did have to travel quite a ways to make this qualifier. David hailing from Interlochen, Michigan, just south of Traverse City up there, coming all the way down to Fremont to fish this lake. Probably the first time he's ever been. Oh, fish on for Brinkert. Yeah, see, messing with that net again.
This looks like a pike.
Definitely. He was not excited about that fish. Yeah, wash that snot out of your net. Man, those little slimy...
Just a pike.
Those little slimy rockets are the worst.
It's the only downside of fishing the drop off pike.
I don't know if the listeners at home can hear this, but I believe there was an amateur aerial show going on at the same time we were fishing this lake. I believe the same airplane has flown over for the last hour.
Just learning how to fly.
Mr. Matt Long continues to stay out front, 46 1/4. Brinkert with 40 even, and Smet 16 1/4. So top 3 still up on the leaderboard. The other 4 are still out working, trying to find it. So at this time, we'd like to give a huge shout out to the World Series of Fishing sponsors. Old Town and the Old Town Sportsman line have been huge helpers in all that the Topwater Series has wanted to do. So we can't thank them enough. The team at Lines End Fab Works, led by Chris Blair, I mean, churning out fantastic
great
custom trailers. You can't go wrong with a Lines End Fab Work trailer. If you're in the market, please get a hold of him. Get your name on that build sheet as they're stacking up before we get into the season and get your name on the list. You will not regret it. Customize it. He's got 3 solid options right out of the gate, but then if those don't work for you, you can go nuts and he'll build you whatever you want. And last but not least, we'd like to thank Yak Attack. Yak Attack, longtime Topwater Series sponsors. So happy to have them on board. You name it, they got it. Any type of accessory for that kayak, for your camera gear, anything you need, you can find that at Yak Attack. And you can find all the Yak Attack accessories sold at many local retailers like DNR Sports, Water Dog Outfitters. You can get in there and find those accessories and the gear that you need to go out and compete. Every one of these kayaks that you've seen tonight has had some type of Yak Attack gear and product on that kayak, whether it's the boom sticks for the cameras or the paddle holders, you name it. They've got everything you could need. So again, huge shout out and thank you to our sponsors of World Series of Fishing, Old Town Canoes and Kayaks, Lines and Fab Works, and the guys at Yak Attack. Thank you all so much. So get back here to the action.
Got yellow shoes again. See if he can catch a second fish.
Yellow Shoes. Let's call him that from now on.
I'm gonna change his name.
Call him Caution, Mr. Caution. Oh, maybe. Tim's going for his 3rd pike here. Going for the hat trick.
I don't think it's a bluegill. But he's not gonna get the slam.
I hope it's not a pike for Tim. I hope it's not a pike. Boom.
That came off.
Another solid looking fish.
That hook popped out as he
hit the
net. He didn't. I thought I saw it pop out.
No, yeah, it was still on there, wasn't it? I thought it popped out too. Now this is a trick here that a lot of anglers have adapted, and that is situating your net on the backside of that bump board. So if the fish does bounce off that board and try to flop out, at least you've got some kind of backboard for it to flop into that net instead of over the edge of the hull there. And I've seen anglers do it a couple different ways. There's a shot of Mr. Dan Van Dusen over there on the far west side. You can see he made the trek all the way to the west side, but he is safely out of that wind over there where he's at. So could be a smart move. It took him a little bit of time to get over there, but at least he's protected out of the wind. I was saying with those nets, I've seen anglers manipulate their nets different ways on their kayak, whether it's strapping a PVC pipe underneath their seat so they can just set the net in that PVC pipe and keep the fish calm in the water while they get that bump board out, but also as a safety precaution if it was to flip out. Tim, you can see him there, he's kind of set up a safety net, a backboard if you will, on the backside of that bump board in case the fish flops. So I've seen a lot of anglers start adopting that. Kind of an added safety precaution. Beautiful fish. There you go. Second submission gets him up to 33 even. 13 1/4 behind your current leader, Matt Long. Seems like the anglers that all stayed over on this east side are the ones that have now found fish so far. Good look at Mr. Kerr, a hummingbird unit he's got secured to that Hobie. These guys are getting in their exercise with that wind today.
It's a whole nother element when kayak fishing. Not only you have to battle the fish, you get to battle the elements.
Oh, 100%.
Wind being the main one.
All right. David with his first hookup of the day. He's gonna hand line. Oh, another toothy critter.
That's frustration.
I hate to see it, but I love everyone's disgust with these fish.
It's always
like it's the worst thing in the
It's
water.
always in tournament fishing. You're like, I don't want to catch this.
I love seeing the disgust, but I feel for them. Back over to Dan Van Dusen here, fishing that west side ledge. Like Dan's fishing up fairly shallow. Dan fishing out of that Pescador Pilot. Jump back over here to Matt Long. Thought Brinkert had another one on there. I had mentioned Yak Attack a little bit ago and about all the different accessories that they offer, and we actually used the Yak Attack boomstick for all of these back camera mounts here. That's why you're getting that nice high
over the shoulder shot.
Yeah, that nice high over the shoulder shot with those big boomsticks like that. Super stable and stick right on the kayak, but they get up in the air high enough that you get that full frontal view with your camera up there, which makes for a really nice shot. So if you guys are in the market and want to get into filming some of your own kayak adventures, I'd highly recommend looking into those big boomsticks. Mr. Boardwell making a move there. Always.
Dave's hooked up
Dave's
again.
on. That's a nice shot of David there. He just looks like an angler. Like he looks like he knows what he's doing out there.
I know where the pike are at.
Oh, that's another fly.
Another critter. So, for anybody that's watching this, if you're a fan of pike fishing, we've got some waypoints for you guys. That's our fifth pike here.
Matt Long still in first place with 46.25 inches. Jesse Brinkert in second with 40 inches. Tim DeSmit in third with 33 inches. And everyone else on the board is still goose egging.
Well, we got the pike bite down.
That's a better looking pike there for David.
I mean, that's nice when you're fun fishing, but tournament bass fishing, it's not what you're looking
We
for.
should have added some bonus points.
Some bonus points for pike being caught?
Yeah, for toothy critters or panfish. Some bonus points there. As you see this camera footage here, I would like to take a second there and give a big shout out to all the cameramen and women that helped out film these World Series of Fishing qualifiers and the finals and the championship that you'll see here in a couple weeks. But Cody Hart, Kyle Van Leuven, Steve Kruger, Hunter Anderson, Catherine Giggy, and Grant Bennick. Thank you guys all so much for all the work you guys put in to make this production work out. We really appreciate it. You know, with the footage that you're seeing here and these anglers coming off of a league series qualification to get to the World Series of Fishing. Coming up for 2022, there will be over a dozen leagues throughout the U.S. and even reaching over into Canada as we have our new Ontario League starting up in 2022. So we expect that number to continue to rise. If anyone is viewing this and is interested in starting up a league series division in your neck of the woods, please feel free to reach out to the topwaterseries.com website and contact us directly, and we'd love to talk to you. We have some new league series sprouting out all over the U.S. We're dipping down into Indiana. You're going to see some leagues starting up in St. Louis, down in Georgia. Got some leagues over on the east side that's going to be popping up. New to this year is the Southwest Division. Similar area. Looks like Brinkert's hooked up there. So he's reeling that in. That Southwest Division is going to be our Fall Series League, kind of in the southwest state of Michigan, ran by Dave Mall. So as the fishing league series kind of finish up at the later part of August, this one will actually be starting not too far after that, so we'll be fishing into September and finishing up by the end of October. So if you want to continue your league series fishing after the bulk of the season is done, you have the option to go fish that fall series ran by Dave Mall. Excited to see Rich Offner and the new Canadian division, Southwest Ontario division to be exact, and that'll be fun. Get the Canadian side involved. They have some excellent fisheries over there. Most all of those Canadian events will all be ran off of Lake St. Clair, using different launch points and locations off of Lake St. Clair over there. So that'll be exciting to see the numbers that those guys produce.
See some big smallmouths come out of that lake.
I'm excited just to have a dedicated league fishing that side of Lake St. Clair, because we don't get to see that all that often unless we're fishing a Border City Classic. And I know there's some Canadian kayak series over there that fish those waters, but we don't get to see a lot of that.
No, we don't get to see a lot of those fish or a lot of those spots.
Yeah.
And
so
it'll be definitely super interesting to see those guys catch fish over there.
And to have a pro like Rich Offner running that, who has been in this game for a long time and has forgot more about kayak fishing than I'll ever know.
Than most of us.
Excited to get that started, as well as Kevin Hobson down in Indiana, right where we had the Topwater Fall Classic this past year. They call it the 101 down there.
Yeah, they have
101 bodies of water in that area. So why not put a league series in that neck of the woods?
Yeah, there's a lot of lakes in there, but not a lot of fish in the fall.
Oh, man. That was tough.
Not a lot of fish in the fall.
But we got some great response from the Indiana anglers down there that were excited to have a league of their own to come out and compete in that northeast part of Indiana, Angola, Indiana area to be exact. So really just right over the border. So even our southeast Michiganders that are competing in a Huron-like division or even the Kalamazoo division, they can kind of all converge down there.
It's close enough where you can go fish something a little bit different. Some body of water you don't fish all the time, just like branching out.
And after we had that Fall Classic down there, just being able to drive around and see all those different bodies of water down there, I was super stoked.
I think driving home, I drove by like 4 or 5 lakes. I was like, that looks cool. That's cool. I'm like looking at my map and be like, how good is this? what does this look like? Like, how good does this lake look? I was like, oh, I can come back here and fish
I think
this.
half of the lakes that were available for that Fall Classic make up about half of the schedule for that 101. So Jimerson Lake, Otter Lake, Crooked Lake, James Lake, like they're all on that schedule. So for all the anglers that travel down there to check that out, they're already going to have some familiarity with it, you know, being out-of-staters traveling down. But it's not too far of a drive that you can't make it on a night. Plus, that event is also a Sunday series. So you can, if there's nothing going on over the weekend, and his events are going to run the AM period of Sundays on that bi-weekly schedule. So, you know, you can fish your heart out during the week and then get the chance to head down to northern Indiana and compete in that series.
If the wife will let you go.
Oh, yeah. So we'll take another quick commercial break here. Thank our Old Town sponsors and show you this little clip from them. Thank you, Old Town, and that new Sportsman line. Looking good out on the water. Take another look at that leaderboard. Matt Long still up in first, 46 1/4, followed by Brinkert at 40. Tim Smet making up some ground here late in the game with 33 inches even. And the other 4 competitors still out there working hard. Lots of cast. Caught lots of pike today. Let's see if they can get one on the board here. Looks like Mr. Binnick has decided to come fish some dock structure over here. Looks like a municipal type fishing dock. That's a cool little spot Grant was in right there, fishing between that dock and that kind of little wooded outcropping there.
Those are some of my favorite places to fish, those little wooden docks. Like,
me too.
Right underneath it, usually there's some current underneath there. You never know what you're going to find underneath there.
Yeah, and I think, you know, fish come to realize, especially those municipal, you know, dock areas,
that they're always there.
Yeah, there's always people there throwing worms and stuff like that off that dock. So
smart ones will come just eat it and snatch your bait, and the dumb ones will get caught.
Mm-hmm. Matt Long looked like he's ventured out to a little bit deeper water. Keep thinking Brinkert has another fish on. He's just
reels.
Aggressively retrieving.
There's no play in the fish with the Brinkert. It's coming in the boat right now. I ain't got time to wait.
That may have been what jumped out of the water just a second ago.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
The Smet bouncing it there.
The water, it looks like a bass.
Mass Wrangler, 45-inch bass.
Yeah, those are all carved.
Getting heckled by the camera crew. I like this front view, David, here. I think we had a battery issue with that back GoPro on his boat. He's hooked up now. Please don't be a pike. Please don't be a pike.
Hey, that's a bass.
That looks like a bass. You know, if anybody caught that last 10-to-1 daily update show where they talked about nets and using those rubberized nets versus the mesh nylon nets, that was a great example of why those rubber nets are a big favorite versus the old school mesh nets. That double treble hook would have surely gotten caught up in one of those nylon nets.
That's a whole new fun thing to try to get out. Like
You-
treble hooks out of a
damn near
nylon net.
impossible. Just in a
Might as well
time
just cut
tournament
it
like
out.
this, just cut it and tie it back together. Nice fish there from David. Let my fish relax there for a second. Just noticing David's boundary boots there. My goodness. If you don't own yourself a pair of boundary boots from NRS, I highly recommend getting yourself one of those for a day just like today when they're out there fishing and it's cold, windy. Those boundary boots keep your feet nice and dry and warm. Just loading the kayak in and out of the water, they help so much.
I have a pair of boundary boots. My feet still get cold, so I always, as soon as it starts to get cold, like I gotta put foot warmers in my feet.
Oh no.
I don't do well in the cold. Tell the wife all the time, I was like, we should have moved a while ago. Now I'm stuck in Michigan.
You hear Tim's cast there?
Yeah, I hear it all the
Man,
time.
No wonder the dude had to have shoulder surgery whipping that out there like
Just
that.
sending
Holy
it.
smokes. Full send. The sun finally starting to peek out there. That last fish logged by David Kerr, the 14.5 inch. Got him up on the board. Top 3, no movement there. Still holding true with long up top, 46.25. Working that Hobie drive, trying to get himself in a position there. Must be warming up. The Smet's shedding clothes.
You see some sun. They have sunglasses on.
Repping that Team Water Dog jersey. Oh, fish on. You know, Tim's close enough on the leaderboard here that a solid fish could certainly bump him up into the lead. That looks like a decent fish. This could certainly move him up. Dropping that anchor wizard. And there you go. Another look at that leaderboard before Tim submits his third fish. If he gets this submitted and scored,
We're
top
definitely
3 all have 3 fish. Brinkert's hoping he has a say in that total. The Tri-City guys are really getting pissed now seeing this sunshine popping out.
And fish being caught.
Yeah. They should have had a redo. Should have gave them a redo. I love these clear waters like this where you can sight fish, cruise around,
You can
see what's moving.
You can sight fish in like 12 feet of water.
Mm-hmm. These guys are coming down to the end here at this fishing session. Time's running out. Time to make a move. Oh. There you go. That last fish from Smet was good enough to bump him up into first place. A new leader on the board with 47 1/4. Looks like he's reeling in his 17th pike of the day. But Tim Smet, your new leader here with time running out. A short time.
Shucks it.
Aggressively throws the
Call
pike
that the
as hard as he
torpedo
throws
toss.
the lure.
Tim Smet with the patented torpedo toss.
There you go again, everybody. Another look at that leaderboard. 47 1/4 for Smet. Long, man, 1 inch behind, and Brinkert also up in the 40 inches. Any scoreable fish will change that leader position again for those top 3. Just got to get that 4th fish logged to jump up in the lead. Again, 8 inches being the minimum scoreable fish, with Brinkert at 40 and your leader up there 46. 1 fish will do it.
Tim's hooked up again.
Back up. This could be a nail in a coffin fish here. Short time. Got that rod bent right over. Looks like a decent fish. Giving him a little fight.
No, big old pike.
Oh, man.
Big pike. Yeah. What's that?
How many pike did you get?
Number 5 right here.
No way. Yeah, I got 2 too. Oh, that's nice.
I think he's
Give my
conversing
jig-
with
give me my bait back.
Nathan.
He's eating it.
Heard Nathan say he had caught 2 pike as well. I think that's about 12 or so that they caught today.
Maybe we should start branching out in the pike tournaments.
Back for Mr. Binnick.
Time is definitely winding down. Let's see if anyone else can land a fish.
Oh.
Grant's doing something. Here's splashes.
Alright, Grant with his first fish of the day. It's in the boat. Let's get it submitted here. Get him on the leaderboard. Solid looking fish. Just a reminder to all the viewers watching this as we come down to the end of the Lakeshore World Series of Fishing Qualifier. The team at Topwater has really tried to step up their game here this off season to bring you guys some really cool new content with the 10 to 1 daily update show, our World Series of Fishing. You will see the Huron division next week go out in competition, but we also have some fantastic content creators releasing their new episodes coming out next week on Topwater TV from the likes of Mr. Matthew Diesel, Chad Watson, Chris Culbertson, Brandon Bissell. Everybody has new episodes coming out next week. On top of that 10 to 1 daily update and the Huron series qualifier that you'll see next week. So some amazing content coming your way. We hope you guys are enjoying these clips and these videos. A lot of work goes into filming, editing, producing these, and trying to showcase something enjoyable for the viewers to watch, as well as these anglers that are out here competing in these qualifying type events like this. But
Just gonna have a whole week full of fishing content.
a whole new week of fishing content coming your way next week. So I'm excited. I love watching these other anglers go out there and fish and talk and teach. You can always learn something from a fellow angler. There is your final, everyone. This is your Lakeshore Series, World Series of Fishing qualifying final. Tim DeSmet takes the lead there at short time to get him that spot in the West Finals. So Tim DeSmet, 47 and a quarter on the top of the
Don't worry about
leaderboard.
that.
Matt Long, 1 inch
Literally
shy.
did exactly the
Found the
same as
fish,
earlier.
but
Matt
couldn't maintain.
led most of
Quarter
the
of an
day.
inch.
Tim just came up and snatched it from him.
Yeah, Tim went from third to first there real quick, one fish. It was a close race. These anglers did a hell of a job. Again, the weather conditions not ideal to start out their fishing session. It was cold, it was super windy. You can still see them fighting it on the way back in. But a hell of a job by all these anglers, and a huge shout out, thank you to all of them for taking the time to come out and fish these qualifier events. We were excited to have them, host them. Some excellent fishing by Topwater's best here, everybody.
Definitely a staunch change from last week where we had 2 fish and snow, and now we have way more fish.
15 pike and 7 or 8 bass
And
scored.
we see some sun.
Sunglasses off my bed. But, fell right in the lake. Solar bat floating.
For those of you that can't hear that audio, Tim's talking about his Solar Bat sunglasses, the floating F1 bats, longtime sponsor of the Topwater series with their amazing selection of eyewear, prescription, polarized, you name it.
Free fishing.
Gary Garnsey from Solar Bat,
Always over 18.
he's been in the game for going on close to 30 years now.
Real
As
aggressive today.
an eye doctor came out with this line of Solar Bat glasses specifically made for outdoor recreation use, and amazing options to choose from. That F1 floating bat right there was made specifically for us kayak anglers. So if you drop your glasses in the water, they're going to float. You just pick them right back up. So your choice of, gosh, about 5 or 6 different lenses to choose from on those Solar Bats. Can't say enough good things about those guys. Happy to have them back here in 2022. These anglers getting off the water, getting loaded back up.
Time to load up, time to get off the water and do a little ramp talk. Tell everyone what you caught them on, what you didn't catch them on. Maybe stretch the truth a little bit. Tell them you caught.
Always.
I caught nothing but giants.
Brinkert having a good day. Van Dusen, that long trek from across the lake
That
on
didn't
his
look-
way back.
That wind still doesn't look fun.
Felt bad for Dan. He put in a hell of an effort trying to do something different. Everybody kind of stayed on the east side where the wind was blowing them. Dan decided to go all the way on the other side of the lake, get out of that wind. Unfortunately, the fish weren't there by the time he arrived, and it takes up a lot of time when you decide, all right, I'm going to the other side of the lake in a
Then
timed
you're like, I'm
competition.
going.
That takes a lot of time to get over there.
You can't just bail halfway through. It's like, I'm just going to bail. It's like, no, you're committed. You're committed.
Congratulations again to Tim DeSmet, your Lakeshore World Series qualifier champ there. So, another great episode. Love watching these anglers go out and compete. They did a hell of a job battling some weather conditions.
Definitely got to see more fish get caught than we did last week. Got to see less snow. That's
sure.
always a plus for me.
You know, next week it'll be exciting when we go to the Huron. So these last two events, we've had the Tri-Cities up here, and then all the way across to the west. Now we get to drop down to southeast Michigan, and the Huron anglers went out on Wolverine Lake for this first qualifying session. And for those of you that don't know Wolverine Lake, it's one of our favorites. It's been on the Huron schedule every year, and I hope it never leaves. It's one of those lakes that you can go out and you're gonna catch
You're
fish.
always gonna catch fish there. That's
It's
always
kind
a
of
good
like the
flip.
West Side Sessions Lake. You know, Wolverine Lake is a great spot to go out and catch some fish. So a perfect spot to hold a qualifying event. So Tim Smet, again,
Is your
your
champion.
leader, your champion of the Lakeshore World Series of Fishing qualifier event, moves him on to the West Finals. So super exciting. We were excited to have all of you join us tonight. I hope you enjoyed this programming. Please tune in all week long as new episodes are coming your way with 10-to-1 updates. We've got content creators, like I said, producing some excellent content that you'll see starting next week, along with that World Series Huron qualifier. So
We've just got a whole week
Man.
of nothing but fishing stuff.
we're bringing it.
Like,
What else
you're-
are we gonna do? It's freezing cold outside. It's nasty.
Look at
Let's create fishing videos.
fishing videos and look at places I want to go so I can go fish.
Absolutely.
That's not frozen.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Mike Anderson. This is Matthew, Diesel. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate it. Have a good night, and we'll see you all again next week.
Later, guys. Peaceums.